Our research shows that the number one reason why consumers buy smart thermostats, specifically the recent purchases, is to control them remotely. So a Wi-Fi connection is really important for that.
Hey, this is Martha DeGrasse here again for the Wi-Fi Alliance. If this is your first time listening to our show, welcome. We are so glad you joined us. These are meant to be smart conversations with analysts and industry leaders that can deliver a fresh perspective on the growing portfolio of Wi-Fi technologies that are changing the connectivity landscape. And if you are already familiar with our podcast, please rate and review on your favorite go-to podcast app. We would really appreciate it. Thank you. So with that, let's get started. We are super excited to welcome Daniel Holcomb. He is Senior Analyst for Smart Home Research at Parks Associates, and he is going to be teaching us about smart energy management, which is super important right now. Daniel, welcome to The Signal.
Martha, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, this is a really important topic. This year, it seems like we hear constantly about the demands that data centers are placing on the grid. And we haven't really heard as much lately about what we're all doing in our homes, but that has not slowed down. I think it's accelerated, especially at this time of year in August. So it used to be, smart thermostats were the main thing, but there's so much more in smart energy management now. Give us a little bit of an overview.
Yes, so energy is getting rather expensive. And just to set the stage, of course, I work with Parks Associates, and we do a quarterly survey of U.S. internet-connected households, and 8,000 of them to be exact. And in our latest research, we found that 61% of these households say that their energy costs are too high, which has gone up since the height of the pandemic.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the average monthly expenditure has gone from $131 in Q4 a month in Q4 2020 to $156 a month in Q4 2024. So there definitely is an increase in cost, and it's creating hardships on many people.
And smart thermostats are an upfront investment, but over time they can save a lot of money for consumers, right?
Right. Yes. And right now, a lot of consumers aren't necessarily taking advantage of that. Only 16% of U.S. internet households, 16 to 17% of U.S. internet households have a thermostat in our reporting, but it is becoming more mainstream. Our latest research shows that 37% of smart thermostat owners are part of the early majority, which is the segment of the population that buys tech when it's been proven out. So it is becoming more mainstream over time.
Okay, so beyond thermostats, there's a lot of other technology that can be connected to the internet to manage energy consumption. I'm guessing that those are adopted by even smaller percentages of consumers, but give us a little bit of an overview of some of the other types of energy management technologies that can be connected to the internet.
Yeah, so a lot of people are at least familiar with solar panels. Almost certainly your audience would be. And of course, battery electric vehicles and even smart panels, perhaps. All of these can be connected to the internet and connected to other energy management systems in the home. And then, of course, you can scale much smaller than that too, all the way down to things like smart plugs and smart lighting as well. The major energy devices like solar and smart panels have very low adoption today, though. Smart panels only have 4% adoption. Solar has 5%, and battery electric vehicles only have 5%. So that particular area is a very low adoption area, and the intent to purchase those is low too. The cost of those is just too much for the average consumer. And I hate to make it a more challenging story for those, but it is also going to be a while before we see the adoption really increase because we're starting to see the incentives for those things going away. And net metering, which is the ability to send excess solar energy back to the grid for credits, that is also being reformed in places like California on the state level. So now those types of large energy management equipment investments are in fact long-term investments. You're not going to see in the future them being like an immediate bill replacement option.
Okay, so smart thermostats are probably the primary Wi-Fi connected device that people are going to be, most people who want to take a little bit more control of their energy consumption can use, right? Or will use.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they're internet connected, of course, and that's really key to helping manage the energy in the household. Our research shows that the number one reason why consumers buy smart thermostats, specifically the recent purchases, is to control them remotely. So a Wi-Fi connection is really important for that. And of course, secondly, is to automate the energy, and that automation is enhanced through Wi-Fi connectivity as well. But here's the thing, though. This is a real challenge. It's not enough to just simply get someone to buy a smart thermostat because you need to make sure they actually get it on the wall, that it gets connected to the internet, because you can use it as a dumb thermostat too. So there are initiatives such as one that Vivint mentioned or came out with about a couple of months ago that involves providing white glove free installation service of smart thermostats and video doorbells when you purchase their smart home bundle. And that's huge. It's really important to make sure that those things get connected so that people can get utility out of them.
Yeah, yeah. I was reading a little bit about this before the podcast, and I think some utilities, the contractors that help with their smart devices, may be even bringing Wi-Fi extenders or even maybe cellular extenders to the homes when they bring the smart equipment because they know there's not great connectivity there and that people are going to need that. And it seems like that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is that with the modern smart thermostat, that's less of an issue. There's the way they're being designed now is that oftentimes with these smart thermostats, there is a hub functionality being built in, which can help with the process of like really extending that signal and creating sort of a mesh environment. With a lot of the
That's
Wi-Fi
great.
routers out there too, Wi-Fi 6 being out and really in a lot of homes through providers these days, you
Yeah.
have a really good mesh connectivity through that, and you're not having to worry quite as much about that as you used to. Although I just read yesterday, Wi-Fi 8 is in the works, and it's going to be focused a lot on like really the strength of the signal, less dropping. It's going to be a big thing. So.
So Wi-Fi is not going to get the blame for people not adopting smart energy technology, right?
Right. I think that we show that cost is the top barrier to smart home adoption still. And it leapfrogs every now and then with people not seeing the value in these. But right now, cost is the top barrier. So even though we've reached the early majority, it is still a product that largely is adopted by higher income households. But I've got some good news on this front. Several smart thermostat OEMs have been working on value tier smart thermostats. And
Really?
yes, and just earlier this year at CES in January in Las Vegas, there was announcements from Ecobee about their value tier and Honeywell Home about their value tier smart thermostat that are cheaper and have slightly fewer features, but not, I mean, it still has most of the core features you need and want from a smart thermostat.
You can still control it remotely, I'm guessing.
Yes.
So what type of price points are they looking at?
In the low $100 range. If I
Okay.
remember right, I think the Ecobee one is like around $120, or that I could be getting that confused with the Honeywell Home, but the both of them are very affordable in price. Which, if you think about like the Nest thermostats, some of the more premium tier, those can be in excess of $200 or $300. So that is a big deal to have one at that lower price point, but that still provides a connected functionality.
Right. And how do the utilities control these or use these? For example, if they wanted to implement time of use tariffs or another system to encourage people to use the grid more effectively, is there a way for them to interact with these thermostats?
Yes, there are different programs that energy management programs that consumers can take advantage of. One of the more common ones that interfaces with thermostats specifically is demand response programs. Now, it doesn't really matter what energy program you have or energy plan you have with their provider. Generally, there may be a demand response program in many markets, in most markets, I think, at this point, to take advantage of. Your thermostat can oftentimes find that for you. What demand response does is it allows a utility to automatically adjust, say, a thermostat by a few degrees to reduce your energy on the grid and prevent a blackout or brownout, essentially during peak demand to prevent strain. And for the consumer, besides knowing that they didn't have their power go out, the other key incentive for that is that they usually receive something like a bill credit that happens annually, usually like $25 or $50 or something like that. But they may receive other incentives too. Now, we find that 22% of smart thermostat owners participate today, and there are a lot of people who don't participate. You don't need a smart thermostat to participate, by the way, but that's primarily, I think, the main device that does participate. But there is a significant barrier to that, and one of those barriers is that people don't like their stuff being controlled.
Yeah.
And that's really the most significant barrier. But a lot of people also either haven't heard of it or don't think that their energy provider provides it. So there's a huge marketing gap there as well.
So if people don't want the utility to control their personal thermostat, how do they prevent that? Or is that just not something they can necessarily prevent once they've connected their thermostat to the grid or to the internet?
They usually actually always do have like an opt-out. None of these demand response programs require you to accept every demand response event they send to you. You always opt out. And I'm not always clear on how that impacts the bill credit. I think most time you still get it, but there might be exceptions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah. But the idea is that you should still be incentivized to at least take on some events. And and then if you participate in some, then you should get it. But there might be.
Oh, I see. Okay.
There might be some specific restrictions depending on the particular plan. But the idea is you should be able to opt out. And even with that, it's still a bit of a barrier because people don't necessarily feel like they want to opt out. And the good news about demand response events, though, is that people are reporting that they're having less of those. And so that can help make sure that the program is not too cumbersome. But the top motivation to even participate at all is the incentive. So really making sure the incentive is enough, usually by a lower energy bill, is what really motivates people.
Yeah.
But the churn out is also a bit of a concern. There is some churn out with demand response programs, mostly because people say that the program is no longer available. But there is the 24% who say that the incentive is too low. So the utilities do have to think about that. And any company that helps manage, any third-party company that manages demand response programs.
Okay. Have you seen examples of utilities marketing or encouraging their customers to purchase smart thermostats?
I personally haven't been looking into that lately, but there are cases where in the past I've heard that companies have marketed their products to essentially, or utilities rather, have marketed demand response programs with smart thermostats as an incentive.
Interesting.
I've heard mixed mixed responses on whether that is really effective or not. I think that our research certainly shows that it's the money people are really looking for more than anything else. The top incentive for people to allow utility to control their devices is like a $30 credit versus a free smart thermostat. So that is the money really is what a lot of people are looking for.
Okay, great. Is there anything else on the smart energy management front that you're keeping an eye on right now?
Yeah, so some of this ranges from the interesting emergence of some devices that have come out to some of the more sciencey elements of technology that are being in development in laboratories. So some of the companies that I've been following lately who have released some tech that I think is very interesting and I'm following is a Span had released something called the Edge, which is a utility grade device that can be attached to the meter and can enable extra electrification for things like EVs. And it's just something you can install outside of the house. They don't even need the consumer to say, hey, I'm going to give you access to my garage or anything like that. It's that kind of thing. Being able to help the utilities scale up for consumers for electrification is really important. The ecobee by Generac Smart Thermostat Enhanced with Home Energy Management, which is a mouthful, is a product that has been released more recently. I think it's actually hasn't yet been released to the public yet for purchase, but it can interface with Generac generators and battery storage to help manage the orchestration between those devices much better. And the technology that also I think is interesting that is in its infancy right now, but may eventually get there when we're thinking about things like solar, is the type of material used. I've been reading about a material called kesterite. The current material that's typically used for solar cells is perovskite, which is a little bit more of a pollution concern, and it's more efficient than kesterite, but kesterite is closing that gap, and it could be material of the future for solar cells. And if it closes that gap with efficiency and becomes potentially more efficient, you could see solar panels become a much better deal for consumers. And lastly, Matter is, I think, really an important standard that's enabling interoperability between smart home appliances and smart home devices and different platforms. Matter over Wi-Fi is something that I think is really going to be important to help coordinate, orchestrate. And you can do Matter over Thread or Matter over Wi-Fi, but for those that really don't want to worry about, getting a Thread board or router if they don't have a smart speaker, and there's a lot of challenges still there, Matter over Wi-Fi will get you there. And I think that that's really something I'm watching as well.
Okay, great. Daniel Holcomb, Senior Analyst, Smart Home Research at Parks Associates. Thank you so much for being here on The Signal.
Thank you, Martha. It's been a pleasure.
And that is our show. Please do not forget to rate and review on your favorite podcast app. I'm Martha DeGrasse, here for the Wi-Fi Alliance. Thank you so much for listening. Please join us next time on The Signal.